Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to discuss some more of the implications of the TSLY stock split and the fact that the dividend is actually going to double, and we'll explain exactly how that happens. So let me share my screen here. And so what happens in a reverse split is, now, just to clarify, so I did a video yesterday on Apple's historic stock splits. That is totally different from a reverse split. A reverse split is where they take shares away from you, but the price of the fund doubles. A split is where the share count either doubles if it's a 2-for-1 or quadruples if it's 4-for-1, or in the case of Apple, if it's like a 7-for-1, like their best one, it would actually, your shares would increase sevenfold. A reverse split is the opposite. So here again is the details. So it's a 1-for-2 reverse split, meaning if you have 6,000 shares of Tesla, you'll now have 3,000. But instead of those shares being worth like $9, they'll be back up to $18, which is the joke I was making the first time I covered this. I kept talking about what will it take to get Tesla back to $18. Well, it turns out the reverse split is what did it. And it happened this year, just like I said. So it's like we kind of got what we want, but it's not exactly, what we want because we're losing half of our shares. But anyway, because of the reverse split, the dividend is actually going to double. So instead of paying, a 50% dividend, well, here's the thing. The dividend percentage will most likely stay the same because here's what's going to happen. So the dollar amount will double from what it was before, but it's on half of the shares. So if you look at this table here, as far as frequently asked question number 3, will a TSLY reverse split affect the value of a Tesla shareholder's investment portfolio? No, a TSLY reverse split will not alter the rights or value of a shareholder's investment portfolio. The table below illustrates, among other things, how a hypothetical dividend before and after a 1-for-2 reverse split of a hypothetical ETF does not affect such ETF's hypothetical dividend yield. So it really doesn't affect it at all. Even though the dollar amount appears to be doubling, it's on half of the shares that it was before. So you'll go from 200 shares to 100 shares. The value of the fund per share will be from, say, $10 to $20. But your value of your investment doesn't change at all. Your dividend per share will double. Like I said, in the title of the video, it will double, but your dividend total dollar amount will not change, and your dividend yield will not change either. So that's important to remember because there's a lot of, I think, misconceptions when it comes to the reverse split. And there's some really good frequently asked questions here. Will a reverse split will it impact TSLY's performance? The performance of TSLY is based on its portfolio holdings. A reverse split has no impact on its portfolio or its performance because remember, this is a covered call ETF. Now, another thing that's come up is the fractional shares. So let me see here. The fractional shares. So fractional shares arise when the number of shares held by a shareholder cannot be evenly divided by the reverse split factor. And then what happens in that case, you would get a cash payout. So you may lose some of those fractional shares actually. As an example, say a shareholder owns 101 shares of an ETF worth $10 each that are subject to the 1-for-2 reverse split. So the reverse split factor is 2. Prior to that, the value, say it's $1,010, which is 101 times 10. After the 1-for-2 split, the shareholder will own 50 shares worth $20 each, and then one fractional share, which is a half of a post-split share, and that will end up being redeemed for $10 in cash. The value of the shareholder's investment portfolio remains the same. The reverse split does not affect the value of the shareholder's investment portfolio. Keep that in mind. But what may happen is that you may get some of it redeemed in cash if it doesn't quite meet a whole share after the reverse split ratio. So I know it's kind of complicated, but I don't want anyone to start thinking, hey, our dividend's going to double again, because really nothing changes. As far as my personal opinion on reverse splits, I've never really seen any funds recover long term. The main, so what I'm trying to say, I don't have like a great opinion on reverse splits because I've seen several stocks that have reverse split and they just continue to drop again back to even their pre-split price, which happens on the other end with a normal split, like I was talking about with Apple yesterday. But With this, so the only successful reverse split that I hear pointed to typically is Citibank. And Citibank, I would not call that a total success. I mean, obviously the company salvaged its stock price, but it never got back to its all-time highs since the crash in '08 and '09. So I don't know if you would call that a 100% success, but that's the main one that I hear referenced when it comes to a successful reverse split. So that probably would be the best scenario. I mean, the stock, did come back like from its bottom, but it never reached its prior highs. Like many of the other peer companies, not only did they reach their prior highs, but they far, far surpassed them. Like look at JP Morgan and Goldman, for example. They far surpassed them. Bank of America still has room to go, but that one has definitely recovered very well from its lows after the crash. But that one didn't do a reverse split, to my knowledge. But anyway, so here's a good table here of before the split. If you have one share, you would get 0 whole shares after, but you would have a half of a fractional share. If you had a number like 41.26, you would have 20 and then 0.63 fractional shares. So as I understand it, these fractional shares would end up being paid out in cash. So anyway, I hope that cleared some things up. Yes, the dividend dollar amount per share will seem like it's doubling, but nothing is really going to change. So keep that in mind when you all are thinking about this. And now we will look at some comments. So let's see here. We have Frost Whale on. So the question is, who is actually buying more TSLY right now? I'm sure a lot of people are. I'm not. But a lot of folks are going to try to scoop up the shares at their current value, so then they can ride into the reverse split with more shares, and then they'll have half of those shares, but they'll feel like they got in cheaper. But like I said, nothing really changes. And then you said, I'm going to buy more this week. Are you holding Clip? I do hold Clip. That's one that's actually way down. I feel like you all talked me into it back in July when I was doing videos on all these funds. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just buy some of this. It can't hurt. Door Gunners on says, does it really double? It will be the same amount overall. Well, that's the point. So it doubles in terms of like per share, but the share count is in half. It gets cut in half. So really nothing changes. So that's why the title of the video is TSLY's dividend doubles after a reverse split ? Because that's what we're discussing here. And then nobody is on. All right, nobody is on. How about that? I think it's unreasonable to expect the distributions to double simply because they say it will. Wait and see what happens, but chill on it. Okay, so to clarify, no one said the distributions are going to double. It automatically happens per share because of the reverse split. But it doesn't mean anything changes. You get double your dividend per share, but that's on a half of the shares, so it cancels out, basically. Sonia's on, currently adding to TSLY, FEPI, Clip. Oh, you're adding more Clip. I wonder why. The first two you mentioned I think are great. I actually want to get into myself. And then FSCO, ECC, OXLC, these all pay end of month. So that's good. You can stagger out the payments. That way you're not getting all your dividends on the same day. FEPI the day before, DEFI, so I can use those dividends to put into QQQY and IWMY. Oh yeah, those two, right? So many have prospered after reverse split. GE, Citibank, AMZA. So Amazon, here's the thing. I think you're saying Amazon. Amazon didn't do a reverse split. Amazon did the classic split. So they were like $2,000 a share. And then, so you got a lower share count, but I think it was a 20-for-1, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, those work fine. That's like what I went over yesterday with Apple, which some of you didn't quite understand. So I'll probably do a follow-up video on that because I think it helps. I think splits actually are great because it allows more people to invest and they get the shares at a lower price. And then the shares typically end up recovering back to their pre-split price. Now, I agree with what a lot of commenters did say, that you would come out the same whether it's split or not, but you can't be certain that the stock performance would have been the same. But if you take both and hold everything else equal, then, okay, from like say 1981 to the present day, if the performance of the stock was the same, then the split wouldn't matter. So it's kind of a complicated subject. It's a subject that gets a lot of different concepts for sure. So anyway, so Sonia gave me some good examples here. I may have to do a follow up on this because maybe there are some more successful examples that I haven't thought of, which it's entirely possible that there was something that the coach didn't think of. I don't always think of everything. As good as I am, I don't always quite think of everything. Unfortunately, a lot of people are saying it will double. I know. That's what I'm trying to clarify here in the video. So, okay, AMZA is an oil-based stock. Oh, we'll have to look into it. All right, you all. Thank you all for the comments. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. And join Discord if you haven't already. And we will see you all very soon. Thanks so much. Take care.